This is Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, episode number 150. Today, we kick off a three-part series about caring for self, caring for others, and caring for each other. And today, we talk about caring for self, so don't miss it. Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. This is the only podcast that shows you how to leverage polarity intelligence, an essential competency for healthcare leaders, and the missing logic in healthcare, so you can create healthy, healing organizations and become a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable healthcare leader.
We are your hosts, Tracy Christofferson and Michelle Trosett. We've been best friends and colleagues for over 30 years. And during that time, we coached healthcare leaders across North America around how to create healthy, healing organizations.
Today, we coach healthcare leaders and leadership teams to live thriving, resilient, and balanced lives, combat burnout, and create the best places to give and receive care.
This podcast is for the unsung hero of healthcare, the healthcare leader. We want you to know we see you and we'll be here for you each week. In this podcast, we're going to challenge healthcare's industry norms, flip limiting beliefs, and share proven strategies so you can be your best self at work and at home, live and lead intentionally, and experience well-being and joy.
We are glad you are here and look forward to sharing the journey with you. If you aren't totally convinced this podcast is for you, just listen to a few episodes and convince yourself. Well, hello, all our wonderful listeners. This is Michelle, and I'm here with Tracy for another episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I am ready. Let's go for it. I'm in California. It's sunny, 90 degrees.
Oh, it's rainy and cloudy in Michigan for today, but better weather is ahead.
Oh, spring. Spring is springing.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're burning up the airwaves from across the country, and we've got a new series for you.
Yes. Yay.
Yes. Yeah. And being a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable leader is really about caring.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. I've come to
caring. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've come to really know it lately.
Caring in a lot of different ways on a lot of different levels. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So we're really excited to kick off this new 3-part series. And our last series, in case you missed it, was episode 143, 144, and 145. And that was really about our dynamic balance effect framework and the different pillars. So our pillar on mindful choices, polarity intelligence, and personal alignment. And so if you haven't listened or watched those on our YouTube channel, then go for that,
yes.
Right? You got to check those out. They were pretty good. But today we're kicking off a new series, and this is the 3 C's. We're talking about caring for self first, and then caring for others and caring for each other. Yeah. So over the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about these concepts, and we're going to talk about our experience with them individually as best friends and business colleagues and partners, and all what we've been learning with our healthcare leader clients.
Yes.
So lots to share with you.
All right. So let's start with the first episode. And this episode is all about you. It's all about you. And self-care is essential to be a thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leader. It is just so critical. And you cannot be your best self at home or at work if you don't put yourself first. So self-care is not selfish. That is the mantra of this podcast episode. It's not. And we're going to share with you why that is and what we've learned, both personally and professionally, and why it's so important to care for yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, many leaders have what we would call a limiting belief about self-care, and they believe it is selfish. They believe self-care is selfish. Now, they've probably been indoctrinated with that belief, from in a lot of different ways. But we also know that if you've been experiencing one of these three, you might not think you have that belief, but if you've been experiencing maybe one of these three things, then you may have that belief as well. So those are, you're not asking for help when you need it.
Nope.
You don't have anything outside of work that you love to do, a hobby or anything else, and you struggle with enough time syndrome. In other words, there's not enough me time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're experiencing those, chances are you might believe that self-care is selfish and you are neglecting caring for yourself. But the good news is those beliefs can be changed. And we're all about flipping those limiting beliefs into liberating beliefs, right?
Right.
And, because here's the thing. Here's the thing about beliefs. We believe our beliefs are truths. Absolute truths. But what we've come to learn and know is that unless it's true for everyone, it's not a truth, right? It's just an interpretation. And you can change those interpretations, because you've been indoctrinated with them. There's things that have occurred in your life, either from your parents, your teachers, your friends, whatever, your colleagues maybe have influenced your feelings or your beliefs that taking care of yourself is selfish and not, serving others. So we can flip that and realize that it is not at all selfish. Not at all.
It's magical when you do this, when you flip that belief.
Yeah. Now, we just got to tell you, it's not like we've been doing this all our lives, okay? That we know this because we've lived right? It. Because we were the ones that didn't do it, right? That didn't take care of ourselves for a long time.
That's right.
Just got to be transparent with that. It's not, we're living our talk here.
We have a little evidence of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the challenge is that, and what we learned is if you deny self-care, you are going to experience negative consequences. You just are. You need your me time. You need your time for yourself. And then that happens when you're always over-focusing on everybody else. You're over-focusing on work. You're over-focusing on other people. And then you'll lose the positive benefits of your me time, of your self-time. So what happens is you get exhausted and you're very tired. You have a lack of connection to yourself. It's like, who am I? I don't even know who I am anymore. And we hear that from people. We hear that from leaders. I've lost myself in all of this overworked time and these challenging times. And your needs go unmet. So those are some of the things that start showing up when we do not honor ourselves and give ourselves the time that we need.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the good news is, like us, you can change that, right? You can prioritize yourself. You can actually put yourself at the top of that platter of things that you have in your life to do, both professionally and personally, right? And let's just step back for a second. I want to ask this question because this is the truth. This is true. We prioritize the things that matter to us. So I'm going to ask you, if you're not prioritizing yourself, what are you saying about how you matter in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we make time for the things that matter most. We make time for the things that are our priority. So if you're not making time for you, then you're telling yourself that you don't matter. And we're here to tell you that you do matter and that you can flip that and you can make a difference. So let's talk about being selfish. What does that really mean, right? Let's really think about that. Because selfish is really a lack of consideration for others. Now, just because you care for yourself, you care about yourself, doesn't make you selfish, right? That's not taking away from anybody else. No. You're not taking away from them anything that they're due to them, right? Just for your own pleasure or your own profit. That's not the case at all, right? And that's what being selfish is, right? And being selfish is just being only concerned about you and nobody else. And we know that's not true either, right? We know that you can care about yourself and love yourself as well as others and care for them at the same time. It really is about setting aside time to properly care for you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? Creating time for yourself is a selfless act, not a selfish act. And it's essential, as Michelle said earlier, right? It's really the opposite of being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And you really, all you're trying to do is maintain your own state of health and wellness in an effort to serve others. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really the means to an end, because you can't serve others until you take care of yourself. And right. It's that intention to be of service that makes this an essential act and not a selfish act. So you can flip that, get that liberating belief that, wow, this is really essential, and have that become your mantra, right? Put your attention and intention there, knowing that this is all to provide more service for others. And, you can have liberating beliefs that you just state to yourself over and over and over. Become your mantra. Whenever that little voice in your head is saying, oh, you're being selfish, you can say, oh, no. Self-care is essential if I'm going to be a true healthcare leader. Or I have all the time I need to care for me and care for others. Or my health and well-being are my highest priority.
That's all you got to do. Just tell yourself that. Every morning when you look in the mirror.
Keep telling yourself.
Every morning when you look in the mirror.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we have applied ourselves and help healthcare leaders by leveraging the dynamic balance effect framework, recognize that self and other, caring for self and other, actually is a polarity. They're both equally important. And we really apply that polarity intelligence and help give some intention and thought to both. And today we're really focusing on the self pole, if you will. What do I need to really do to strengthen that pole so I can be thriving, I can be resilient, I can be unstoppable? And we thought it might be kind of fun just to share with you some of the things that we personally do, because may be hard to believe Tracy and I are different people. Sometimes it seems like we're one of the same, but we are different. And everyone has their own journey of their self-care and what that looks like and what works for them. We certainly can learn from each other, though, too. I've learned a lot from Tracy. I've learned a lot from the leaders that we coach with as well. So that's all good stuff. So I think for me, what has really helped me with my caring for self is to really pay attention to what lights me up, to pay attention when I feel joy, and then what is it about that and how can I incorporate that more into my life? And that self-care is important. There's nothing wrong with that. So another thing I do is I do things to remind me. So in addition to telling ourselves that when we look in the mirror, I just wanted to share with everyone, this was a Christmas present from my sister Lisa, and I just laughed out loud when I got it. But it's a wine glass, kind of hard to see here in the studio, but it says self-care. And I have never put wine in it, but you know where I put this? I put this on my bookshelf across from my desk, and I look at it every day to remind me I have to fill my own cup up. I have to fill it up.
With wine?
No, with things that give me joy. Well, we all know I like good wine.
So I was going to say. But
I thought that was just such a great gift because it's a reminder for me. And of course, she listens to our podcast and she knows we talk about this an awful lot. The second thing that really helps me focus on myself is a mantra that I developed years ago, but it's very helpful, and that is put yourself first. And I tell myself that, put myself first. So that could be getting ready for the day. It could be packing for a trip and having 100 things on my mind. But just by telling myself, I got to do what I need to care for myself and to do my own preparation for what's in front of me, everything else falls into place then. Because again, you could be over-focusing on others, over-focusing on everything that needs to be done, and it can take away from what you need to do for yourself. So that little mantra, put yourself first, has been extremely helpful for me. And then also the third thing that's been helpful for my self-care is having Michelle days. So periodically, I'll take a Michelle day. Again, it's usually filled with something that gives me joy, and just spend some time by myself, just reflecting. It could be something as simple as going out to breakfast for myself and going to my favorite bookstore. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, but it is Michelle time, and it's really important, and I know it is. And once you're kind of tapped in and tuned into this, you kind of know, hey, it's time for a Michelle day, because you can tell. And also, my husband and I, we have what we call twist off times. And so just recently, as an example, it was a beautiful, beautiful sunny day here in Michigan. And it was this past winter. And it was just, let's just take the afternoon off and go out to Lake Michigan, watch the sunset. And that gave both of us great joy. So those are some examples of things that I do to really fill my cup and make sure I'm taking care of myself.
That's great.
Yeah. What do you do, Tracy?
Yeah. So, I don't do anything.
That's a lie.
So, morning is important to me. So if I want to put myself first, it has to come first thing in the morning. So, I spend my first hour just really focused on me, my goals, the things that I want, the things that are important to me, getting myself centered, getting connected to myself spiritually, mentally. That's just a really, really important time for me. And it is such a priority that I get up at 4 a.m. to do it when I'm here on the West Coast, right? So I make it happen because I know if I don't, I will neglect myself. I won't do it at the end of the day,
right?
Like I will do it at the beginning of the day. So again, a lot of this is just knowing yourself and knowing what's going to work for you. And so that's what works for me. The other thing I think too is my well-being and my health are my top priority. When I did a reevaluation of my values, that is at the very top. That's the first thing on my list of values is my well-being. And so it's a non-negotiable for me in my schedule. I prioritize my well-being every day, and I'm not neglecting that. And to help that, I invest in myself. So I have coaches. I have lots of coaches, coaches for my business. I have coaches for me personally, for my, for my wellness, my nutrition. I have coaches for my mental, spiritual well-being. So I invest in that, and I contribute, I make time for it every week to advance and grow and invest in myself. And I invest in others to help me do that because they see things about me I don't see. So they really give me great insights. So those are other things that I do. Now, some other action steps that others have done, we want to, share a few other things. I mean, self-care can look so different for different people, right? It's not the same thing for every person. And what fills you up, is different. It's just different, right? It's unique to each person. But there are some common things that different people do. And we'll do a shout out to our pal, Erin. She's in our Rise of the Resilient Balanced Healthcare Leader Facebook group. And she likes running, journaling, and a good bookstore. Those are all her good go-to, self-care acts. Some people increase their hours of sleep. That's the thing that they know matters most to them in order to be their best self is they get enough sleep, exercising routinely, eating healthy foods, having a healthy, diet is, beneficial for some people. Increasing amounts of quiet time. It's kind of that alone time, quiet time, no distractions, no noise, no anything. Engage in activities that lift their spirits, whatever that might be a walk, might be just going out and putting your feet in the grass, reading a good book, whatever fills your soul, feeds you. Spending more time with family and friends. Some people, that's just really where they get, they get their energy is from being with other people. So that might be something. Journaling, enrolling in some kind of program or learning opportunity. Those can be things too that, people have a strength of being a learner. Then they might want to, enroll in some programs to just grow and evolve or learn a new skill or hobby or something, right? All those things can be self-care because they're unique to you and they make you feel good. That's what self-care is all about.
Yes. Again, it's all about you. So our call to action for you today is to stop and reflect about what your beliefs are about self-care and really give yourself some time and space to think about this. What do I believe? And how do your beliefs about caring for yourself impact your health and your well-being right now? And are they limiting you or are they empowering you? And also, you can reflect on some other questions as well. When was the last time you made time in your life to do something that gave you joy or do something that's fun? It's been amazing to Tracy and I how difficult that is for some leaders. They're just so in the mode of doing and heads down that it is really hard to pull back up and say, when was the last time I took a week's vacation? When was the last time I took 1 day vacation? So really think about that. And what is it that, again, fills your cup? And where can you add me time into your calendar? It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It could be a couple hours on a Saturday morning. It could be an hour every morning. And then, is it on my calendar? Do I have time blocked for me? And then also ask who's willing to support me to make sure I care for me. So you can really lean into people in your lives too, to let them know, hey, I've done some reflection on this. I realize I don't have enough self-care for myself or enough me time on my calendar. And how can you help me? So definitely don't be shy to have others help you as well.
Yeah. And, you can always add a little self-care on to other tasks that you do, go, stop and get that cup of coffee after you go get your hair cut, right? Just stand in the sun for 10 minutes, right? Just stop, sit in the car after you've been grocery shopping. Just give yourself 5 minutes of quiet. Like there's lots of ways you can do this, folks, right? It doesn't have to be a big effort,
right?
But you can do it. And you need to really consider what are the consequences if you don't. If you don't care for yourself, if you keep putting everybody before yourself and you don't care for yourself first, what are the consequences? Really think about that. Where will you be 6 months from now if you don't prioritize caring for you? This is the very first step to avoid burnout, folks, is just taking care of you, right? And if you don't, you will burn out. You'll lose touch with yourself. You'll end up not being your best self in any situation at work or at home. You'll be exhausted, and maybe even depressed, right? Because there's not that flow of joy and that life force, right? That lifts you up and helps you to be who you want to be, right? As a thriving, resilient, unstoppable leader. And the data is showing us. So we're not just saying this, right? Leaders are leaving their positions. They're emotionally unhealthy and unstable. So we know you're out there. We know this is an important tactic. And we don't want that to be you, and you don't want that to be you either.
Yeah.
Right?
So
take care of you.
Take care of you and just imagine what life would be like if you made yourself your number one priority. So we're saying first, we're saying number one priority. And because we know it has not been. That's kind of the pattern with healthcare leaders. So just imagine the difference it would make if you made it your number one priority. And life does get easier. It gets smoother. You are in the flow more because you've got that time that you've invested in yourself. And then guess what? Your family's going to notice it. Your team's going to notice it. People start to notice it because you have filled your cup first. And you have more than enough energy to give your family and your team because you've taken that step. You've made yourself the number one priority.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just struck me. If you struggle with just, like sometimes words matter to people, right? And if you struggle with, I'm my number one priority, think about like, how could my wellness is my number one priority. My health is
Mm-hmm.
my number one priority. Like, you don't want it to be about you. If the word you makes you feel like selfish, then phrase it any way that makes you feel happy about it, right? But I was just kind of thinking words matter to different people, right? And I was thinking about that when you
Yeah,
said,
that's true.
maybe
That's
just
true.
use whatever words are going to work for you. Okay,
Yes.
use whatever words, but the fact is, it's a priority, right?
It is
Your
a
wellness,
priority.
your health, your mental well-being, everything, right? It should be a priority. Now, I don't remember. I'm 61 years old, and I don't remember a time when I felt as good as I feel right now. Like, I feel healthier, I feel stronger. Like, I've never felt better, right? Because I am
Yep.
intentionally focused on doing the things that fill my cup, keep my spirits high, make me feel energized and my body strong and healthy. And when you have that, then everything else, as Michelle said, just flows,
It
right?
does.
And so I've never felt better. And according to my husband, I'm looking pretty darn good too. And I think Kev said the same about Michelle, right? Yeah. Hey, keep going,
Yes.
girl. You're looking great. Now, one of our, like I said earlier, sometimes people just need a little sleep. Well, one of our little leaders that we coach in our healthcare coaching programs, she chose to focus on sleep because she would find herself just up late at night, just surfing and doing mindless things or get entranced in a movie and be up really late, right? Then have to get up early. And it was just really impacting her life. And so she just found this opportunity. Wait, I'm not doing anything really important.
Right.
I'm just staying up late. So she just decided, no, I'm going to trim that off. I'm going to not do that. And I'm just going to go to bed earlier and I'm going to get more sleep. And it just totally changed things for her.
It did.
Like, so much more energy, just everything in her life started to flow after she did that. So again, it can just be one thing that you identify, right? And she talks a little bit about that in our interview with her in episode 133. So you can give you a little shout out there, Kathy.
Yep. Again, learn from others, right?
Exactly.
Well, this has been awesome, Tracy. Feels so good to bring such an important topic to the airwaves. And we just want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. And we have a challenge for you. We want you to join us. We want to start a self-care movement of healthcare leaders. Like, just imagine if everyone did this. Wow. It would be amazing. So one leader at a time, we can do it. We can prioritize our self-care and make a difference. So thank you again. We want you to follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. All of our handles are Missing Logic, and certainly LinkedIn as well. And also, we invite you to join our private Facebook group. It's the Balanced and Resilient Healthcare Community, Healthcare Leader Community. And I said that wrong. It's the Resilient and Balanced Healthcare Leader Facebook group. So it's private, so that we have a lot of connection in there as well, a lot of tips. And so you're more than welcome to join that. And until then, we'll see you next time, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, now a top-rated podcast for healthcare leaders. Please share this podcast with other healthcare leaders and anyone else you think would benefit. We are certain that if you found value in it, they will too. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And also, it would mean the world to us if you took a quick moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. It helps to get the word out about our podcast and incredible guests. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch our podcasts. You can also follow us on our Missing Logic social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time.